Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us for this social selling webinar. Good morning if you're joining us. I think there might be one or two joining us from the States. My name is David Van Schaik, and I'm CMO of the marketing practice. So just before we get started, a couple of bits of housekeeping. If everyone could put themselves on mute, turn off their video so that we can conserve bandwidth. And yeah, we ran this session this morning with no apparent issues, but if there are any, just bear with us. We will allow some time for Q&A at the end of the session. So if you've got any questions, what we suggest you do is pop them in the chat function, and then we'll try and pick out questions at the end. This is a session for customers in the marketing practice, but I know there'll be some salespeople who might not know us, and I know one or two of you asked permission to invite partners and customers of your own. So I just wanted to say welcome to everybody. The marketing practice is what we call a full service B2B agency. So it means we offer a fairly complete set of services designed to create and convert demand. And that includes a social media team and an inside sales team. Of which Sarah and Erica, who will be leading the session, are part of. And they've been working together for several years on mastering the art of social selling, if you like. We run workshops regularly for clients on this, have done for quite a while. But obviously at the moment, social selling skills will be more important than ever as a skill for salespeople and marketing people. So unfortunately, we can't go into all the detail that we go into in the sort of full workshops, which are a bit longer. But this session is, if you like, our top tips from our two experts on LinkedIn specifically and how to use it to raise your profile and engage with customers and prospects. So you're going to hear first from the wonderful Sarah Knight, who's our social media manager and general LinkedIn guru. And then from Erica Neal, who's our head of outbound and a phenomenal salesperson, and they'll speak for about 20-25 minutes. I should leave a few minutes at the end for Q&A. I should just let people know that this session is being recorded. We will make the slides available to everyone afterwards, and we hope that you find it a useful session. So I'll put myself on mute and hand over to you, Sarah.
Perfect. Thank you very much, David. So as we begin then, so I think there's quite a lot of reasons why being active on social media is obviously so important besides the current situation that we are in. So hopefully this workshop should just give you the top tips to help get you started, or if you're already quite active, kind of give you a little bit of a boost to further encourage those social media efforts, because we believe it's very important to be active on LinkedIn here. And not only that, to be really proud of the content that you are posting and make sure you're doing it in the right way so that you can look really professional and build up a professional network on your LinkedIn. So as David was saying, I am Sarah. I sit in the digital team at the marketing practice, and where my kind of key responsibilities are all things paid social media. I also run the Business Brains program, which is an influence marketing program, and also I do a lot of ABM in-mail campaigns alongside running these workshops. Erica, did you want to just introduce yourself quickly?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Erica, head of outbound here at the marketing practice. I'm just heading towards my 6th year with the business and led our use of social selling across our outbound prospecting activities, running a team of 9, and we use a multi-channel approach using social selling as part of everyday life for us.
Perfect. So my section that I will focus on then. So for me, this is all around posting and being active on the channel and engaging with the content that is on there. So I think for a lot of people, this can seem quite a bit of a daunting task, and it can be a bit like, oh, where do I begin? And of course, in the current situation that we're in, it feels like more than ever people are active on the platform where previously they might not have been. So I think it's important to kind of, I will say this quite a lot throughout this presentation, but first of all, take your time with this. So although there is a desire to get everything out there ASAP, it's better to do it well once than to do it wrong 10 times. So first of all, I think it's take it back to basics and make that social media activity a part of your normal working day. So spend those 15 to 20 minutes in the morning with your morning coffee before the day's begun, just browsing your network and seeing what is around, seeing what you'd like to engage with, what people are saying, what the latest conversation is. And then that's when you can kind of build up that natural engagement through liking and sharing and commenting. And then of course you can also make this easier for yourself. So you can schedule all of your content in bulk. So there's a free tool called Hootsuite. Now what I would recommend and would say is that obviously as the news is changing literally hourly at the minute, I would only recommend scheduling content in a maximum of 1 week in advance, because you want, if you think of something you're about to post now, is it still going to be relevant in a week's time if you were to schedule it today? So just have a think about that if you are going to use tools to schedule your post. You might find you just want to schedule them 3 days in advance. That way you can probably keep on top of things, of what is happening, and make any quick edits if things are changing, of course. And then obviously, photos and videos are by far the most engaging content on the platform. So I would think about once a month, how can you shape up the content that you're posting? How can you kind of change it and make it a bit more engaging through video and photo content? And have a look at what your peers are posting, see what I've seen a lot of people posting screenshots of team video calls that are going on these days, or people's new working from home desks. And it's really insightful to see all these videos, and it's kind of making light of the situation. And, it's a good thing to share positivity at this time as well. So I'd have a look for your news, a bit of inspiration if you're struggling on that. And then, of course, when you have your routines, it's time to start engaging. So there's a couple of things you can do which are less effort and less impact. That's just liking stuff and sharing stuff without a comment. But then I would encourage doing stuff which requires a bit more effort, but it definitely has more impact. So that's stuff like commenting, replying, sharing stuff with your comment and sharing your opinion on those things, and of course writing blogs. I'll come on to the blog shortly, but with the comments and replying, what I would say is that although a social post can say a lot, it might not say everything. So you might see something in your newsfeed, think, oh, I disagree with that, agree with that, and you haven't actually read the article. So before commenting or liking or sharing anything, if you're going to engage with somebody, I would make sure you have all the facts. I'd make sure you've read the article that they hosted. Because just because their post says that one thing doesn't mean to say that's reflected in the article. That could just be their opinion. So keep that in mind before you start to engage that way. That way, when you come to write your comment, you know you are actually armed with all the facts and you've got everything that you want to. I'd also keep in mind that everything you post and share on social media is, of course, public, and you never know who's going to see it. It sounds obvious, but I think it's something we can sometimes forget, especially when you can't directly see the other person in front of you. So I'd have a think and use it as the mentality, would you say to this to the person face to face? If yes, then that probably sounds like it's okay to post. If not, I'd probably think about it and maybe hold back, because it can be quite easy to start a debate online when maybe you don't need to. So just have a think about what you want to get out of engaging with somebody as well. Then, of course, don't make it harder for yourself. So there are so many great places to find content these days that you really don't have to look very hard at all. So there's obvious ones such as Google Alerts. This is where you can set up notifications to alert yourself to key kind of words within the market and get the latest updates that way. There's also your favorite industry publications. So I'm sure we all have our favorite publications that we'll go to time and time again to read the latest news. Well, I would recommend that you bookmark these, and then it just saves you a bit of time having to search through the internet every single time to find them. And alongside this, use your social media news feeds. So everybody is posting these days, so why not take advantage of that? Have a look in those news feeds, see what's being posted, see what's being shared. And also a great place to start if you are really struggling is your company-owned content. So have a look on the social channels of your own company, see what they're sharing, because you can guarantee anything that is posted on your own company channels is safe to share. Alongside that, have a look on the company website. There could be a company blog, and you might want to share stuff on that as well. So that's something to keep in mind. So when it comes to writing the social post, then now that you're an engagement expert, there's quite a bit to think about here. So first of all, going back to that taking your time point and kind of thinking about what you want to get out of this. Before you post anything, I'd have a think about, why do I want to post this? What value is it going to add? And who do I want to see it? With that in mind, you can then think about the tone of voice that you want to use. Think about who you want to actually tag in the post. So @mentioning people is a great way to kind of boost engagement. So there's kind of two ways you can do this. You can either acknowledge, so say if Erica had written an article, I could then share the article and be like, great piece from Erica Neal, and tag her, @mention her. That way, Erica will actually get the notification to say I've tagged her in her post, and fingers crossed she might reply and engage back. Or another way you can do it is you can write your post, share your point of view, and then ask for others' opinions. So you might put at the end of the post, what do you think about this, Erica, and tag her in that way, and she still gets that notification. And then doing things like that is in hope of people that they might engage more, they might comment more, and boost engagement on your posts. When it comes to boosting engagement, I'd also think about asking questions. I really think questions are a great way to kind of understand what your people in your market are thinking about, and also to have that conversation. I think you can find a lot out from what people are saying and sharing online, so it's something to consider adding a question to the end of your social post as well. And going back to the colleague point, reshare their content as well. Obviously, it's a really lovely thing to do when you see a company sharing each other's content and kind of boosting each other up. And that if you're struggling for content to find, that's a great thing to go down and do as well. And lastly, use hashtags. So previously in the past, hashtags were just meant for Twitter, and when people use them on LinkedIn, it did look a bit odd. But now the platform is adapting them even more, and you can actually search for them. So along the header at the top of LinkedIn, you can search for it. So things like hashtag B2B marketing, you can search for that hashtag, and then you can see all the posts that people are posting within this hashtag, just like how it is on Twitter. So that's a really great way to find content and also find that conversation if that's what you're looking for as well. Also, I'd have a think about unique hashtags. So for instance, the one we use at the Marketing Practice is hashtag life at TMP. This is our kind of own company one where we share all our updates, all our staff updates, any company news, and obviously most recently the latest brand video, as you can see on the screen. So I'd have a think about if there's any unique hashtags you could add for your company, and see what kind of like little community you can build from that as well. And then, now that you're obviously an expert with engagement and writing on social media, why not take the next steps to become even more of a thought leader and start writing LinkedIn Pulse articles? So this is longer content, which is LinkedIn's blogging platform. So this can feel quite daunting to begin with, especially when you think, oh gosh, I've got a whole article to write here. But if you just break it down with a start, middle and end, and kind of keep asking yourself, have I raised all the points that I wanted to? Did I get all the points across in the blog? Have I got a good title? Have I got a good opening sentence? You can kind of structure it, and then it feels like less of a daunting task. I would recommend, before you write it on the platform, to write it in a Word document first. That way you can kind of go away from it, come back to it, chop and change things. And I'd also get a colleague to have a look over things before you post it too, just in case they can check for any spelling mistakes, because obviously that is a huge no-no on social media. And also they can, if things are not clear, it gives you a chance to edit it before it goes live on the platform. But I think LinkedIn Pulse is a really great way, not only to kind of showcase yourself as that thought leader, but also to start conversation with other people who might have similar thoughts to yourself. You can also search for Pulse articles, just like how I mentioned you could with hashtags. So that's something to have a think about if you want to, before you get started, if there's a topic that you particularly want to start writing about, but you don't know what people have said on it previously. Use LinkedIn to search and see what's already been said and see how you can build on that conversation already and add to it even further. So we're going on to Erica's section now, so just bear with me 1 second. I will stop sharing and give Erica full control.
Thanks, Sarah. Can everyone see my screen?
I can indeed.
Excellent. So Sarah's taken you through how to engage with many people that are already your connections on LinkedIn. This next section is really more about that one-to-one engagement, and it all starts with research. The LinkedIn Sales Navigator unlocks all LinkedIn profiles across the entire platform. If there's a user with a LinkedIn profile, you will be able to see what they're saying about themselves. You don't need to be a connection to view their profile. And what that means is that it gives you access to a whole universe of prospects and rich insights into what they're saying about themselves. Moreover, LinkedIn does an awful lot of heavy lifting behind the scenes to furnish you with company level insights as well, such as are they in growth or decline by department? What's the latest news and posts that that particular brand that you want to engage with has recently shared, and all other social activities too. However, there is so much insight available that before you know it, you could have been browsing LinkedIn for quite a while. So here at TMP, we use a technique called 3x3 research. And this is designed to help you focus in on finding 3 pieces of information about your prospect within 3 minutes for you to make a really nice, compelling and personalised approach in. We'd always recommend that you start with the prospect, so have a look at them on LinkedIn, check them out, see if they're a relevant prospect that you'd like to engage with. Have a look outside of the platform as well for the most recent news, or Google the person's name and their organisation, and you may find that they've delivered a presentation that's available online, or they've written a blog that you might have a viewpoint on. Within their profile, it could be something more simple. It could be the tenure at a company, or a recent promotion, or something extracurricular, a cause that they support, or a hobby that they have that they've posted about. If you can't find anything about them as an individual, the next step would be to look at the organisation. And again, look at them on LinkedIn, look at what's being shared within Sales Navigator around recent posts and shares from that organisation. But also, again, platform, look on the company website, see report and do a quick Control F keyword to browse through their annual report and see if there's a way that you could identify if they're aligning or gearing up to invest in something that you might be able to help them with. Lastly, if you can't find any company level insight, then it's good to rely on your own industry knowledge. What's going on in the market and what could you use as a way to engage with that particular individual? The biggest thing that gets overlooked though is what you already know in your CRM. So make sure that you check back in, look at any conversations that have been held, looking for any sort of account intelligence or existing customer footprint, products that they use, that sort of thing. Above all, remember to save what you find in your CRM. There's no point in rerunning your 3x3 research every single time you want to engage with the same organisation, for example. And there's a really new feature within Sales Navigator that I'd like to draw your attention to at this point, and that's the ability to build and create your own lists of prospects. When you do that, it enables you to create a small note against each of the prospects that you've saved. And that would be an ideal place to store your 3x3 research too. Once you've found and saved some insights, it's time to try them out. So we take a 3-step approach to writing an email. There is no such thing as an email template, but this is a throwdown to consider. Always lead with what you've found out about that individual. As human beings, we like talking about ourselves and we like reading about ourselves. So if you lead with your personalization, you're going to engage and hook your reader into the rest of the content that you're about to share. The customized pitch section of an email, this is really about the persona of the person that you're communicating with. If you know that there would be different benefits that you would share with a CIO, for example, from those that you would share with a chief digital officer, then that's where the customization comes in. And the nice bit about the customized pitch is it's actually quite reusable if you were to say you wanted to email a number of CIOs. When it comes to the call to action, the whole idea of social selling and networking is to get that conversation started. You can, of course, suggest a time to speak or ask for a mobile number, but we find the best responses are when you ask that reader for their opinion on something that you've shared with them, their views, their feedback. You'll get engagement that way much more successfully. Now, the best practice on email is also a word count of 150 words. It takes a lot of practice to get your message across in a very succinct and simple way. So our biggest piece of advice is actually try it on an existing connection rather than on a new prospect for the first time. I think in the current environment that we're in, LinkedIn is very much a broadcast platform. And actually, it really needs to be about that networking and engaging with one another. So for your first email that you try, I'd encourage you to research an existing connection that you have. A, you're going to find out more about them, but B, you're going to reaffirm that existing business relationship, which I think is pretty important at the moment. As well as sharing what does work, it's also important to highlight things to avoid. So spamming, that means sending the same content to everybody. It may receive the occasional reply because you might just get the message on the head for one of those prospects that you sent it to, but we know that by personalizing, it elicits much better responses. Another thing to avoid is emailing the same content that you would send in an email into an in-mail. In-mail should be much more friendly in tone and less formal with an easy call to action. And if you think about it, on email, you typically introduce yourself. There's no need to do that on an in-mail because they'll look at your profile for that. The other 2 things to try to avoid is sending in isolation and not following up. So if you've called and emailed a prospect before you've in-mailed them, I would join the dots and tell the story. Let them know that you've tried to call, you sent an email, and you thought in-mail might be a better way to reach them. Not following up is the sin of all sins for salespeople. InMail is not a silver bullet, but it is a worthy channel when you're trying to prospect and engage with your network. So make sure that you do follow up, be that via a call or an email or another InMail. And lastly, key thing to avoid is over communicating. First of all, you want to appear to be easy to deal with. So a nice succinct message is much better than War and Peace. But also you need to say something interesting for the conversation that you want to have. And of course, the first meeting too. And just lastly on connection requests. So we found that you will receive more connection acceptances if you sent a personalized note in your connection request. And once connected, we definitely encourage you to send a follow-up best practice InMail with a bit more information. Now, we talked about how InMail best practice is around 150 words, but actually there's no character limit. On a connection request, there is a character limit of 300 characters. So you need to consider your wording quite carefully. And these are the top tips that we'd like to share. First of all, what's in it for them in connecting with you? Lead with that rather than it being about you increasing your network. Make sure there's something compelling in it for them in accepting your connection. Again, keep it personalized. Why is it that you want to connect with them? Did you see them at an event? Do you share a mutual connection? Did you study together or work in a previous organization? Keep it personalized. And lastly, before sending any connection request, make sure you review their profile fully first, because within their profile, you'll be able to mirror and speak their language. They may describe certain capabilities or programs in a certain way. If you can mirror the language, you'll feel more familiar to the prospect and they're more likely to accept your connection request. Key things to avoid: don't try and sell in a connection request. Do not mention product names, capabilities, or solutions, and don't make it about yourself. So, quick whistle stop tour there on researching existing and new connections, how to communicate on an InMail, what to avoid, and how to grow your network effectively. I'll hand back to Sarah now to share the latest feature from Sales Navigator, and that's Smart Links.
Thank you, Erica. So what is Smart Links? So this was actually previously called Point Drive, and it's just rebranded itself to be named as Smart Links. So what this is an online platform within Sales Navigator where you can upload and host private PDFs and PowerPoints. So only people with the link is able to see them. So as you can see on the screen, it's turning that previous sales email where you got all the assets in there. You had no insight into if people opened it, if they engaged with it, if they liked it, into one platform which gives you all of that data. So my favorite thing about this tool is that, say if I sent the asset to Erica then views it for 10 minutes, Smart Links actually tells me this. It tells me down to the second how long Erica engaged with it. It tells me how many pages she viewed, and obviously, as I just said, how long for. So this is perfect for a sales team. So previously where you had no idea and you kind of had to follow up cold, you can now turn that into something, a warm approach, and say, hi Erica, I noticed that you viewed my asset for 5 minutes. Did you have any further questions? And of course, on the flip side of that, if people are only engaging with it for a couple of minutes, it gives you the opportunity to think, there's something not right here. Is it my asset? Is it the messaging that I want to change? And it gives you opportunity to upload different assets for that too. So this has recently just been released, and it's a rebrand from Point Drive. The main difference is that with Point Drive, you could actually host videos and GIFs within the assets, but currently it's just PDFs and PowerPoints. So that's something to take note. But I have spoken to our LinkedIn rep, and she said that she thinks video will come back on Smart Links probably later in the year, probably early 2021. So something to look out for. But even without video or GIFs, I still think it's a great opportunity for salespeople to, use the platform to their advantage, especially given the current situation that we're all in as well.
Thanks, Sarah. If you'd like to know more, as David mentioned at the top of the hour, we do much deeper dive workshops for our clients, and this is the sort of thing that we cover. But now that's us done, so we'd like to turn the floor to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Sarah, Erica. If anybody does have a question, I'll give you a minute just to pop it in the chat or come off mute. Okay, I've got one quickly for both of you, but for you really, Erica, just at the current climate, because you're obviously spending time social selling and talking to people on the phone. And I know a number of clients are concerned about should they be actively involved in outreach at the moment, and what's it like talking to people? So what's your experience in the last week?
So I think in the last week, definitely picked up again. So it did dip the first week that we were all told to work from home, with people getting set up and being very busy firefighting, but people seem to be very bedded in now. They're getting used to working from home, and we're actually finding that conversations are increasing. People have got more time to speak to us, and we're still successful in achieving our outbound lead targets on behalf of our clients. So making hay while the sun shines, and taking very much a tone of how can we help rather than how can we sell to them right now.
Good. And we've got a question from Mina, which is, do you need Sales Navigator to use SmartLink?
You don't need it to view them, but you do need it to upload them and host them on your profile.
Okay, another question from Mike.
Yeah.
Guys, with point drives, we used to be able to send the client videos through a URL. We send our clients lots of info via this method. Is something that is due to come into SmartLinks, so the video functionality.
So with sending them with the Point Drive and SmartLink, so you would still send the link just previously how you did with Point Drive. That bit hasn't changed. The only bit that has changed is that you can't have a video or GIF asset in the actual SmartLink currently, just how you could previously with Point Drive. But hopefully that will probably change soon, because video is obviously a great engaging platform to use.
Good. Very good. Okay, well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. Hopefully that was a useful bit of homeschooling for sales and marketing, and hopefully you'll manage to balance that with the homeschooling for kids as well, those of you that do have them. It was hopefully found it a useful session, and we'll be doing lots more of this type of content over the next few weeks. So we'll try and share some more interesting tips and tools for you shortly. Thanks again for joining.